These are every single McDonald's Transformers Armada figure from 2002, so put on your nostalgia goggles to dissociate from the fact that this was over 20 years ago and that you'll never be able to relive your childhood, and stick around until the end to see the horrid combined modes these figures have. So let's open them up. Let's take a look at Optimus Prime first. So you get an ad for all the actual figures, basic instructions, and on the back is the combined mode, which I'm teasing for the end of the video. So let's take a look at him. He's something, alright. He has that nice translucent red and blue plastic. This is really nostalgic to hold in my hands. He has some very rugged tires. The transformation is fairly simple. Flip that over, bring his horrendous head out, and then make sure the feet are down, and then just move out the arms. And there you have the most hideous looking Optimus Prime. I know it's a McDonald's toys, but some of the other figures that I'm going to show are better than this one. By the way, what's your favorite thing to order from McDonald's? Let me know in the comments below. For me, it's the McChicken, the best fast food sandwich. So let's take a closer look at his head. It looks pretty bad, not entirely like Optimus. Unfortunately, I don't have the original figure. I do have this BTR figure that I want to do for a video. I've just been too busy and lazy to build this. You can see a decent amount of detail on the front side of the figure, and you can just kind of barely make out an Autobot insignia. These hands look pretty terrible. You have the smokestacks on the other side of the hands. This yellow button at the back does that, and the back side of the figure also has a fair amount of detail. It's really hard to see with all the see-through plastic. This does have a lot of loose bits on it. This figure is 20 years old. And at the bottom you have two combiner ports, which are compatible with the Minicon ports for the Armada figures. Articulation for this one, the head can move up and down, and this can rotate with some ratchet joints. These hands can move. Make sure to subscribe, by the way, because we have meth. Now let's move on to Megatron. He's primarily green and purple. He's got the solid greens up top, some translucent green plastic over here, and some translucent purple on the underside, which you can see a nice bit of detail and the Decepticon insignia. He has some faux tread tracks underneath, and this is a very, very vibrant neon green. This top part can spin around. It is very loose though, and this can move up and down, and the design on this part isn't too bad. So for the transformation, we just take this off, bring this down, rotate the legs, bring out the feet. Oh, this is very stiff. This one out as well, and let's get these hands out. This is kind of tough to do. And lastly, we just put this back on. My hands can function. There we go, and bring it around. On the side, it looks kind of like a penis. So the head sculpt on this Megatron for a McDonald's toy is done fairly well. It doesn't really resemble him too much. The head is done in a nice blue, and you do get some paint on the eyes. It is kind of hard to make out all the details on it. On the back of the figure, there's that button right there, and if you push this in, he has some little punching action, just like the Optimus Prime one. He has some nice details on the legs, and I really do like the neon green on this. Articulation, this can move. Leg movement, this head can rotate a full 360. Kind of hard to do with these being in the way. I think these legs are supposed to be pushed all the way in, and all the little designs on the legs are done really well. These arms have a hard time wanting to stay out. Next up is Hotshot. I believe this is probably the best one. Here's the instructions, and I do have the original figure for this. He is right over here. As you can see, there's quite a bit of a size difference, but the similarities are there. This top section was copied over fairly well. He has some nice blue painted windows, the combiner ports at the top, and once again, yes, these are compatible with Minicons. The underside of it looks really nice in that color of red and all those different designs. This one does have a pullback feature. I guess it's a bit too old for it to zoom around as fast as it did, or maybe I'm just remembering it wrong. I do have my old one. I tried adding some red on there as a child. It did not go well. You can also see the color of plastic change over time. The transformation on this one is ingrained into my head because I played with it so much. You just bring out the arms to the side, open up the head, bring out the legs, spread them apart, and bring out those feet. And here is a very wide Hotshot. The head sculpt on this is really funny. It looks like he has a very shocked expression. The designs over here are done really nicely. I really like how the Autobot insignia looks. He does have some red arms on the inside. This arm can move around, legs can move for the transformation like we saw. Here's how the two figures are side by side. You can see they are very different. The chest design is similar, and the transformation process is also very similar. And then here he is next to the Legacy figure, which I think this one is light years better than the original, and I don't feel like transforming this guy because I'm too lazy. But yeah, this still is a pretty good figure for a 2002 McDonald's toy. Here's how the Hotshots are side by side. Next up is Smokescreen. This goes on top. This crane section I think is done really well, and the rest of the vehicle mode is done fairly decently. You have some nice blue at the front, a lot of nice vehicle detail with the grille and the headlights. You can see the Autobot insignia, some really nice wheels. It rolls fairly well. You can clearly see his head poking out, which is funny. The rest of the vehicle mode looking pretty good. This does have a gimmick where you can do this. So now to transform it, bring out these sections, bring the feet down, bring this section down, rotate the head around, and put this on with this section facing in. And there is a very horrible looking Smokescreen. He has some really weird neon pink eyes. I think the head sculpt is also done pretty bad, but the way he's designed, he kind of reminds me of a bird. The hands are sculpted fairly well, and there's some nice detail on the underneath. You have another Autobot insignia over there. Looks like if you press this button, it'll push this back out, which let's take a look back here. This entire section is done really nicely, I think, but this is probably one of the weakest figures out of all of them. Articulation, the head can move and these arms can move. This is also on a hinge for the transformation. I also do have the BTR version of this. I just just, once again, am too lazy and busy to build it. Now let's do Demolishor. I really do like the mold for the vehicle mode on this figure. There's so much going on here that I think is really cool. Got wheels at the bottom, a bit of a design here. This is also done really well. Closer look over here with the Decepticon insignia. Some more nice designs here. Push this yellow bit in and it brings this out. And this is done really, really well, I think. Very on par with a modern day toy. Now the transformation for this, push out the legs. Oh, that is stiff. Bring it down, bring out the feet, same here. This section needs to rotate around, bring out the head, and bring in the arm cannon piece, put it in that way. And this one doesn't look too great either in the robot mode. The head isn't too bad looking. He has some green eyes. The rest of the figure, I mean, all the details are the same. He doesn't look the best and maybe not the most appropriate looking either. Articulation, that falls off. This can move, legs can move back and forth. Then you saw this for the feet. Next is Red Alert. This is a tough one to open. When in doubt, scissor out. Okay. Instructions there. I actually did not own this one, so I'm not sure what the gimmicks are. It looks like, oh, okay, so it looks like if you push the head down. Okay, that is really fun to do. I did own the Cybertron McDonald's Red Alert, and I think he looked a lot better. So a lot of nice vehicle mode details on the figure. The head just sticking out like that is done really weirdly, and the head looks pretty bad also. Autobot insignia right over there. This entire top section is translucent. Here he is next to his larger counterpart, and this one does look so much better. I have done a review on this. For some reason, this is not wanting to tab in all the way, so sorry about that. But as you can see, this is garbage. Transformation on this, bring out the legs, arms are in here, and bring this down. And wow, that is something. Looks like his combiner ports are over here, don't forget about that, because I will show them at the end of the video. Looks like there is rotation for the head, and then all the other articulation is done for the transformation. The lack of paint really doesn't help this figure. With the arm sticking out to the side, he looks like he's ready to be crucified. It's kind of also hard to make out the details because of the color of blue. He seems very short and stocky. I do like how they managed to get the transformations for some of these figures to be kind of similar to the original figures. And then here he is next to his larger counterpart once again. While this one isn't the best figure, it still is so much better than this one. So now we're down to Cyclonus and Starscream. Let's do Cyclonus first. Here's a look at those instructions. Before we put this on, let's take a look at the figure itself. It looks like this is very loose. The rest of the detail on this figure, all of this over here for a McDonald's toy is really great. The Autobot, you're wrong. The Decepticon insignia over there. The head poking out is kind of weird. His guns also look really good. You can see the hands on there as well. I guess this has gotten loose over time. Let's put the blades on. And I do like the designs on there. I think the blades are supposed to pop off when the wheel spins. It doesn't seem to be working though. Let's see if we can actually get it to work. Okay. Looks like for the transformation, all we really need to do is bring this down and tab it into place, and then really just adjust the hands. I think this is supposed to pop up, but it seems to be stuck in there, so I guess we'll just have to leave it like that. I don't think this one is that great looking either. The only form of articulation are these cannons moving. I guess for what it isn't too bad. Thank you for falling off. Now before we get to the combined modes, here is Starscream. Jeez, all this packaging is making a huge mess. If you did notice, I do have two Starscreams. I don't know what to do with this other one, and it does not seem like the legs want to stay in place. Okay, I'll just have to hold it in place. Now the vehicle mode doesn't look too bad. It looks very chibi. He's like a very non-menacing version of Starscream. So I just realized for this, if you pull this back, it locks this in place. So when you let it go, it's supposed to jump and transform. Let's see if it works. It did not work. Let's try one more time, okay? Oh, it worked! And it seems like I can't get it to work again. Well, let's take a closer look at the figure. He looks terrible. He's got the Decepticon insignias on his wings, another Decepticon insignia on the chest. His hands are just like molded in the most awkward place. The face is not looking too great. Looks like he does have head rotation. These yellow bits remind me of those shitty popsicles. The rest of the figure is just designed in a very weird manner. This looks a little bit sussy. A literal cockpit. To be fair, it is like that on the original figure as well. This is the Thundercracker repaint of Starscream. And then I do have the Legacy Starscream as well. Here are all three together. The combined mode for the Decepticons is really weird and kind of reminds me of the Megazord tank. Go, go, Power Rangers! Yeah, this doesn't look any good. This back section doesn't want to stay up, and the way Cyclonus is held in place is kind of weird because it doesn't really connect to anything. It just goes into these little slots. Now just wait till you see the Autobots combined mode. Go, go, and there is the best combined mode in the Transformers franchise. It's terrible, it can't stand in place, it keeps falling over, and it doesn't hold together very well. Now make sure to check out these other videos of mine. I think you might like them, probably, hopefully.